Hello.
Then. Now.
Down to the queens.
Episode number 500.
Forever.
Looks like hell throws over.
Without any more further ado,
Together.
let's jump straight into the show. Hello, and welcome to episode 111, I believe, of the TEW IX Challenge Run. We are here for SmackDown for the 21st of February 2025. I've got a big show tonight, including two Fatal 4-Way qualifiers for the Iron Survivor Challenge on the SmackDown end. The first will be Carmelo Hayes, Pete Dunne, Jacob Fatu, and Angelo Dawkins. And our main event is Swerve Scott, Drew McIntyre, Daniel Bryan, and Sami Zayn. And then after tonight we will know the full lineup, because the two winners will join Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and Jay White in that match. Plus, we have a Women's Liberty Championship match. The Megasis defends against Kairi Sane, who she called out last week. And they're going to go one-on-one for the championship tonight. Plus, fallout from last week's ending with Randy Orton dropping Bobby Lashley with the RKO. And the New Day back in six-man tag team action after Xavier Woods' return last week. And, you know, the fallout from everything involving Io and Candice and all of that last week. But yeah, without any more further ado, let's jump straight into the show. A pretty stacked episode of SmackDown here tonight, you know. SmackDown, I think, might be, like, I think Raw's got, I'm not sure. Like, I was going to say Raw at its peak is better, but SmackDown, like, the entire show, like, flows so well, I think. But yes, Randy Orton comes to the ring with Ilya Dragunov to kick off the show. And he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Friday Night SmackDown. Now, as you know, since I came back here at the Royal Rumble, I've been making my mark. I've been marking my territory. And my territory is the top here of SmackDown, the top of WWE, and it's that World Heavyweight Championship, currently resting around the waist of the almighty Bobby Lashley. Now, Bobby is a guy who I've known for a long-ass time, and part of me was relieved and happy for Bobby when I saw he finally reached the mountaintop here in WWE. He won his first World Championship back in December, and I thought, cool, that rocks for Bobby Lashley. But then Bobby Lashley, as well as MVP, started running their mouths. They started picking fights with Ilya Dragunov. And that's where I drew the line after they took me out of action. And you should all know throughout my career, nobody takes me out of action and gets away with it. So Bobby, you may think you're comfortably heading into WrestleMania as the world champion for the first time in your career. Well, I've got some bad news for you, Bobby. That won't be the case, because I spoke to Adam Pearce last week after my victory over your goofy-ass friend, Ricochet, with that dumbass laugh of his. And they agreed, both Pearce and Nick Aldis, to give me, Randy Orton, a World Heavyweight Championship match against the almighty Bobby Lashley at Roadblock in Las Vegas. And I'm gonna RKO you, take you down with the three most dangerous letters in sports entertainment, and I'm gonna once again walk in to WrestleMania as World Heavyweight Champion. That's when the Hurt Business do come out. And MVP goes, "Randy, shut your dumb ass up. Okay, listen, you've had time to speak since you made your return here to SmackDown. That's great, but allow me to retort, Randy Orton. 'Cause you see, for your entire career, 23 years now, 23 years of Randy Orton, what a career it's been. You've had all the dumbasses here in Charleston, South Carolina fooled, Randy. 'Cause you want to come out here and you want to belittle the almighty Bobby Lashley. You want to talk about how it took Bobby Lashley nearly 20 years to finally become world champion, where you've done, what, 14 in that time, Randy? That's because you got handed those opportunities. You were groomed from the day you stepped foot here on SmackDown to be the next world heavyweight champion. In fact, you're the youngest world heavyweight champion in history. But oh, Randy Orton, the Randy Orton I see right now, that's not who I see. That's not who the almighty Bobby Lashley is going to see across the ring at Roadblock. You see, the Randy Orton that Bobby Lashley is going to see at Roadblock is the Randy Orton from 2006. The Randy Orton who reached the peak of this industry at just 26 years old, and once he reached the peak of this industry, he decided he was going to do whatever he could to protect his spot. He had it out for guys on the rise back then. He had it out for guys like the almighty Bobby Lashley. Hell, guys like me. We haven't forgotten that, Randy. All those years ago, the way you were a dick to people like us. And you can walk around here now calling yourself a great father, say giving birth to your children, watching your wife raise your kids. Made you a better man, you say, Randy. And you can see Randy's like getting angry, like, don't you fucking dare talk about my kids, brother. He goes, oh, I can see I've struck a nerve here, Randy. Well, it's true. A leopard never changes its spots, Randy. So deep down, you're still that same little insecure prick you were all those years ago, except now you're powerless. Now you can't hold the almighty Bobby Lashley down, because the almighty Bobby Lashley is the pinnacle. The almighty Bobby Lashley is the world heavyweight champion. And Randy Orton, well, he's just a tag guy. Randy Orton holds the tag rope for Ilya Dragunov, the guy in the tag team we actually want to see do the cool moves. So here's what's going to go down, Randy. You're going to bring all those 20 years of frustration with you to the UFC Apex. You're going to go toe-to-toe with the almighty Bobby Lashley, and the almighty Bobby Lashley's going to put your ass in the dirt. And then maybe, once that's over, the career of Randy Orton as a top guy here in WWE ends. And we're the ones holding you down. Now, Randy, you're looking angry, you look like you want to fight. But, there's 4 of us and only 2 of you, so pick wisely. And Randy sort of just laughs and goes, pick wisely. You want to come down here, run me down, mention my wife and my kids and expect me to pick wisely? You say there are 4 of you, 5 of you, because your ass counts too? I don't care how many of you there are. I'm going to beat all of your asses right here, right now. Randy and Ilya start swinging. They're outnumbered by the Hurt Business. The Motor Machine Guns run out to aid Shark KO. And we do get an 8-man tag team match to kick off the show. It'll be the Hurt Business against Shark KO and the Motor Machine Guns. In 81, Damon Kemp suffered a fractured cheekbone. A, I don't think that's going to keep him out of action. And B, he's like, no offense to Damon Kemp, the most expendable person in this ring. So if he's the one that gets injured here, then, you know, it's sort of a dodged bullet. But Randy's rocking and rolling. You know, he's going wild. He's hitting the Randy Orton comebacks on everybody. He's beating up Ricochet mainly because, you know, he's going to be good at bumping around for Randy. And then, you know, he tags in Alex Shelley. The Motor Machine Guns, they start running wild on the Hurt Business. Lashley comes in. He tears them apart. And eventually Shelley makes that hot tag to Sabin. The Machine Guns do their tandem offense. You know, they both take down Lashley with their tag team moves. They go up to hit Made in Detroit on Bobby Lashley, the World Heavyweight Champion, when Randy Orton tags himself in. And, you know, Sabin looks down at Randy like, what the hell? You know, we had him. And Randy just looks up and goes, I know, boys, I want this. This is my fight. I'm going to kick his head off. he turns around, Lashley spears Randy, and pins him. So in the heat of the moment, Randy got rather emotional, as Randy Orton is known to do, a history of anger management problems and a temper. He saw red after, the promo. He's ready to kick Bobby Lashley's head off, and it cost him. And Lashley pins the number one contender for the World Championship here tonight. 60 for Sabin, 66 for Shelley, 89 for Ilya, 78 for Randy, 78 for Ronnie Hughes, 65 for Damon Kemp, 93 for Ricochet, and 81 for Lashley. So yeah, a big win for the Hurt Business. I think the Hurt Business needed a win, because basically only Lashley. I said I wasn't going to do it when Lashley won the belt to myself, but of course I did eventually end up, just having the rest of the Hurt Business fall into the pin eater role, so they do need to, get some wins to make the whole group credible. Yeah, big win for Lashley over his number one contender here tonight. If that happens again in 8 days, we'll still have Lashley as the World Heavyweight Champion heading into WrestleMania. Thank you, Devon. Then cut backstage. Kayla Braxton is with Shayna and Carmella. Can I go Shayna? In 8 days' time at the UFC Apex, a former UFC competitor like yourself steps into the Apex and you get the chance to become the new Women's World Champion, taking on Utami Hayashishita of Queendom Omega for the Women's World Championship. This has already become quite a heated rivalry between you two after what happened, a couple of weeks ago where, you busted the nose of the Women's World Champion and then the Megasis took out Carmella last week. So he goes, it's all relative, Kayla. I broke Utami's nose, Utami and Megasis attacked Carmella, but one difference between us and everybody else that Queen Omega tries to take out is that I don't stay down. Okay, my fighting background means that I'm ready to fight anybody, anywhere. Whether that be the Women's World Champion, whether that be Megasis, Julia, Yoko, Saya, any of them, all of them. And I'm bringing that spirit, that mindset to Vegas, to the Apex, where all UFC hasn't seen the back of Shayna Baszler yet, and neither will Las Vegas, because Io Sky, if she can make WrestleMania, said she wants to wrestle the Women's World Champion, and I hate to dampen that fairy tale queendom ending that everybody seems to think is on the cards, but it won't be happening because Utami won't be the Women's World Champion heading into WrestleMania. She won't be wrestling Io Sky at WrestleMania. I will. And Cammy walks in. Shayna, I think that things, the past few weeks, we've got off on the wrong foot, I don't see there's a reason why this can't be a fair, respectable fight heading into the UFC Apex. So, here's what I am offering. After last week, what the Megasis did to your friend Carmella, I know I'm sure she wants to get even with Queendom Omega too, and I'm sure you always want to get even with us heading into Roadblock. So, Megasis is obviously defending the Liberty Championship tonight. And, Utami, she's going to be here at Roadblock next Saturday. But, how about you two tonight in tag team action against Julia and Yoko? Fair fight. I won't be out though. I won't be out there. Saya won't be out there. What do you say? And Shayna goes, you're on. Tell your girls to get out there later on tonight. Cam goes, great. I'll tell them the great news. And she walks off. And then Carmella just turns to Shayna and goes, you know this is a setup, right? Shayna goes, of course I do. But I'm not scared by it. Whatever she's going to throw at us, I can handle. We then cut to an angry Mercy Machine Guns going up to Randy and goes, hey man, what the hell was that out there? And Randy goes, what happened out there was I needed to get my lick back on Bobby Lashley and MVP after what they said about me earlier on tonight. I'm sure you can understand my frustrations, boys. And then Shelley's like, well, we can, Randy, but we had him. We could have beaten Bobby Lashley. That's not just about you. This is about all four of us. We could have had a big victory over the World Heavyweight Champion. Might what that would do for our careers. But you had to go out there and, take matters into your own hands because you're Randy Orton. And who doesn't want to listen to Randy Orton? Randy sort of just looks angrily at me and goes, I know you boys have been doing this for a long time, but in terms of the WWE, in terms of SmackDown, you're still the new guys around here, right? So I'm going to give you one chance to walk back that disrespect. And Xavier goes, well, we didn't mean no disrespect, Randy. It's just that, you want to call us the new guys around here, but what you did out that night, that was a rookie mistake. Made by somebody 23 years into their career, I expect better. And he goes, oh, you're calling me a rookie now. Big Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, what, because it took you, 20 years grinding in bingo halls to get here? You think you know everything about the industry? Well, I know more. I've forgotten more about this industry than 2 vanilla indie midgets like you have ever even learned. I'm like, whoa, calm down, we're both frustrated here. But if maybe you should own up to your mistake out there. Then Pretty Deadly goes, boys. You can't help but overhear the commotion over here, and don't get it twisted. Myself and the kids, though, we don't particularly care if you two teams want to, rip each other's heads off. But those tag team championships, they don't deserve to hear all this. They shouldn't even be on your shoulders. You're still recovering after last week when we beat your asses backstage and left you laying. Yes, boy. But if you want to rip each other's heads off, by all means, it's just, don't forget who's really owed the next shot of those tag team championships. It's neither of you two. It's Pretty Deadly. Yes, boy. And they walk off, and they all four men sort of look at each other, and yeah, those guys are dicks. I know we're mad at each other right now, but those guys are fucking dickheads. Fuck them. 93 rating for the first Fatal 4-Way. And it is Jacob Fatu who scores the victory. He defeats Carmelo Hayes, Pete Dunne, Angelo Dawkins, pinning Mello with the Samoan drop in 15:42. 79 for Dawkins, 79 for Hayes, 89 for Pete, and 88 for Jacob Fatu. So yeah, big win for Jacob, and he will be going to Roadblock to join Cody Rhodes, Jay White, and Roman Reigns in the Iron Survivor Challenge with one more spot left, and that will go to either Daniel Bryan, Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre, or Swerve Scott in the main event tonight. So yeah, big win for the Samoan Werewolf. Then get a quick video package for Andrade and Angel Garza. Andrade came back from his torn quad last week, had a 99 with Swerve. So he's already back into the swing of things. He hasn't missed a beat. It's just, reminding the world who they are, 2 talented young Mexican men, 2 sexy Mexican men, looking to make their mark here on SmackDown. We then see Shotzi backstage. And she's sort of just chilling by herself, probably chatting to somebody backstage, when Adam Pearce walks out and goes, just the girl I was looking for. Shotzi goes, Adam, good afternoon, what could you possibly want from me? Pearce goes, well, Shots, I just came to inform you that you actually have a match tonight. You have a match coming up next, in fact. Shotzi goes, but Adam, I don't have my gear on me. I'm not ready to compete. What do you mean I've got a match up next? He goes, well, someone came to speak to me earlier on. They said they wanted to face off against you tonight because they had some issues with you. And I said, sure, I always love a good competition between my roster and 2 personal issues, get them sorted. I love that. So tonight, you're in a match up next. Shotzi goes, but I don't know who it's against. You're not going to tell me who I'm fighting. Pearce goes, it's probably better if you find out when you're out there. Just goes, well, okay, I guess I'm going out to the ring. And we the camera follows Shotzi through the hallway out to the ring. And she gets into the ring. She's just in casual clothes. She hasn't got her ring gear on her. Candice comes out, stone-faced, slow walk to the ring, using her heel music. I guess Johnny Gargano's heel music, technically. But, yeah, it's Candice versus Shotzi coming up next. The bell rings, and Candice just immediately leaps on Shotzi, starts raining shots down on her. And, eventually we get the same finish as last week. Candice just using the Wicked Stepsister, stomping the hell out of Shotzi while she's down. The referee has to call off the match. And Candice LeRae wins by stoppage. I know I put pinfall, but it is a stoppage win. 91 for Candice, 66 for Shotzi. So yeah, a big win for Candice. Emphatic, dominant win for Candice. But after the bell rings, Candice LeRae doesn't stop. She continues the assault on Shotzi. Referees, come down and try and pull her off. She shoves all the referees to the floor. She keeps attacking referees, Candice. She's really unhinged like that. And she keeps attacking Shotzi. It's getting ugly. I don't know if I'd have her run the blade, because I think I overdo that. But it is just, a mean assault of Shotzi. She goes to ringside. She pulls a cinder block out from under the ring. And she's going to go deliver a stomp on the cinder block to Shotzi. And out comes Io. Io rushes to the ring. As soon as Io's music hits, Candice forgets all about Shotzi. She tosses the block to the side. Just leave Shotzi there laying as the medics check on her. As Io rushes to the ring and they resume their brawl from last week. They're throwing hands. It's on site again. Io takes her to the outside. She hits a big moonsault on her on the outside. More security and referees come out. Candice shoves more referees to the floor. And, they're trying to pull them apart. And eventually Adam Pearce comes in and goes, "Enough! Enough! Io, I told you last week, okay, when you asked for this match, I told you you're not cleared to compete. And you won't be cleared to compete." And Io goes, "I don't care. I don't care." And Adam Pearce is like, "If that's how you want it to be, fine. Just know this is on you. Both of you. You want this so bad because this can't continue. For the sake of SmackDown, I feel I have to step in. So at Roadblock, in the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Io Sky, you will get your match against Candice LeRae. Despite the doctors and everybody telling you that you're not cleared to compete and that it's not a good idea, it seems the only way to quell this. So that's why the match, it's gonna be unsanctioned. Now get out of the ring." And Candice goes back and goes, whoa, Pierce. First of all, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to end Io's WrestleMania dreams. My dream come true is ending the WrestleMania dreams of this bitch who ruined this entire division for everybody for a year and a half. But if Io can't compete at WrestleMania, then surely somebody else should get a shot at being Women's World Champion. So, I accept the match, so long as you make it clear that if I win, there is no Io at WrestleMania. That opportunity goes to me. And Pierce sort of just looks at Io, and Io sort of just stares at him going, "Yeah, bitch, I don't fucking care. Do it." And Pierce goes, "It is official." So yeah, unsanctioned winner goes to WrestleMania. Candice LeRae, Io Sky, Roadblock. Bang. After that, Candice gets taken away by security and shit. And we follow Io to the back. She's calming herself down when she bumps into Kairi, getting ready for her match in the hallway. And they sort of just, see each other. They pass each other. Io fires her up, shouting at her in Japanese. Kairi gets fired back, shouting back at her in Japanese. They sort of hug, and Io walks off. And Ember Moon is there, warming up with Kairi. And she just sort of turns like, what was all that about? And Kairi says, Io gonna go to WrestleMania and win the World Championship. She told me to win tonight. And we both leave WrestleMania champion. And Ember Moon goes, well, good luck out there. I'll be rooting for you. And she walks off, and then we follow Kairi as she puts her jacket on. And, her music hits, and we follow her out for her entrance for coming up next. It is the Liberty Championship match, Kairi Sane against the Megasis. It gets an 84. That's pretty good. Yeah. 71 for Megasis, 77 for Kairi. So this match is, David versus Goliath. Kairi has the momentum because she eliminated Megasis from the Royal Rumble by herself. So she's proven that she can topple the Giant. And, Megasis does start tossing her around at the start of the match. She dominates the early portions of the match. And, eventually she goes to get Kairi up with her finisher. Kairi lands on her feet as she comes down. And, fights back. She hits the spinning back fists, rocking Megasis. Megasis stumbles back. And, eventually Kairi cuts her off with a spear. And Kairi goes up top. The crowd's behind Kairi. She's going to get it done. She nails the insane elbow on the Megasis. 1, 2, and Cammy grabs her foot and puts Megasis's foot on the ropes. To a huge boos. Kairi gets angry. The Megasis goes to the ringside, starts grabbing Cammy, shoves her to the floor. And the referee sees this. He does the, oh, you're out of here, to a big pop. Cammy gets booted out from ringside. And the referee's telling Cammy to leave, and she's arguing back. And Kairi's distracted by this. And the Megasis slips in behind. She nails Kairi Sane with a title shot to the back of the head. She then picks up Kairi. She tosses the belt to the ringside to remove the evidence. Nails Fate's Descent. And pins Kairi to retain the Women's Liberty Championship. She had it. But some shenanigans, some nefarious shenanigans, fucked her over tonight. After the match, the Megasis walks to the back with the belt over her shoulder. Kairi gets to her feet. The fans are clapping her on. Kairi, Kairi, Kairi. They appreciate her efforts here tonight. On any other day, she'd have had this championship won. But today was not her day. And Io and Kairi, I guess, as it stands, won't both be champions after WrestleMania. Then get an Oba Femi video package going over his dominance, both in NXT and since coming up to SmackDown. So yeah, what's next for the ruler on his path of destruction? Then we cut back. We see Kairi frustrated in her locker room, just sat down defeated. And Ember Moon's pacing around in anger. She goes, this is just... we've been fighting these Queendom Omega girls for so long right now, and that bullshit, we should see stuff like that coming. But you didn't, Kairi. You didn't see it coming. And, you're not champion now because of it. First of all, Io, she could have gone out there and helped you at any time, and I guess she was too busy to do that. But if you can't get the job done, guess it's my turn to try. And she turns to the camera. She goes, hey, Megasis, you big old bitch. You walk around like you're some sort of Greek goddess. Okay? Call yourself the Megasis, reigning from Mount Olympus, wherever the hell your big ass descended from. You ain't a goddess. You're a cheater. You have to cheat to beat Kairi because a girl like Kairi has your number. And you're too ashamed to potentially lose to Kairi Sane. Well, guess what? You don't have to worry about that because you cheated to victory here tonight. But what you do have to worry about is next week. You won't be losing your championship to Kairi Sane. you'll be losing it to me. Because you're not some goddess. I'm going to expose you for what you are, Megasis. Weak. Vulnerable. Mortal. See you next week. See, Ember Moon is the next to step up. She wants the Megasis in a Liberty Championship match next week. We then cut Big E and Kofi are in Gorilla. They're all fired up. They're so happy that the New Day are reunited. And, Big E's holding the trombone. He goes, I can't believe it's so good to finally have Woods back in the fold. It's like we never left. And then Woods walks in. He goes, hey, boys. He goes, hey, Woods. We brought Francesca with us, just like the old days. It's time to run back the New Day. And Woods he picks up the trombone. He looks down at it. He does smile. He goes, I really needed the time away, but it's great to be back here with you two. Let's go to work. And then we see Big E pick up the mic, and we watch Big E, in Gorilla, do the intro, going, "Oh, Charleston! Don't you dare be sour," and all that. And then the New Day head out to the ring. They have a 6-man tag team match against the Learning Tree, being Chris Jericho and Aussie Open. Torn stomach, fuck me. Why am I getting so many injuries? That one kind of sounds like it might fuck my plans over. I hope not, but it sounds like it might. Anyway. The New Day, Big E and Kofi are doing their thing. And then when Xavier Woods gets in, he starts running around doing Xavier Woods stuff. And he and Kofi end up, butting heads during the match. And the Learning Tree beat the New Day. Jericho pins Kofi Kingston with the Judas Effect after miscommunication with Xavier Woods. 81 for Woods, 81 for Kofi, 79 for Big E, 75 for Kylan Rogers, 76 for Brad Sawyer, 71 for Jericho. Oops. Yeah. The Learning Tree, of all people, has scored a win over the New Day in their first match back. Yes, not all is well in the New Day. Okay, so I just went to check on Woods. It will keep him out of action, but it's only for 30 days, so he will be back before WrestleMania, which is good. I've just got to, not book him I'm not allowed to book him in a match for the next 4 weeks, which, sure, I can manage, but I will have to adjust some things. Anyway, nothing major. Angelo Dawkins. He's crashing out. He goes, man, tonight was supposed to be my night. Tonight was a fatal 4-way Iron Survivor Challenge qualifier. Imagine what a guy like me could do in the Iron Survivor Challenge. Me going to WrestleMania. The Golden Prophet, Angelo Dawkins, going to WrestleMania. But it's cool. I only put so much pressure on myself because of Tez, Kayla. Kayla goes, oh, of course, yeah. He goes, no, because Tez, he had the chance to also get in the Iron Survivor Challenge qualifying match, and we all know I'm better than Tez. And for Tez to keep getting these opportunities over me, I needed to get in there if Tez was going to get in. But luckily, Kayla, Tez lost on Monday. So, while I may not be getting into WrestleMania in a World Championship match, neither will Tez. And he goes to walk off, and Kayla's like, well. And he goes, what? He goes, well, I mean, you're right that Montez Ford did lose his chance to be in the Iron Survivor Challenge. But the second part isn't technically true, because he is wrestling CM Punk for the WWE Championship on Monday Night Raw, and if he wins that, he will go to WrestleMania in a World Championship match. And Dawkins just pauses as if she says that. She goes, come again, Kayla? She says, Montez Ford against CM Punk on Monday Night Raw for the WWE Championship. And Dawkins goes, huh? Monday Night Raw. Where is Monday Night Raw on Monday? Perchance. Kayla goes, New Orleans? Why? He goes, oh, nothing. I hear NOLA is, it's quite nice this time of year. I might pack up the family, go on a little vacation to a nice little city called New Orleans. We then cut back to Jericho. He's over the moon. He goes, "Oh my god, guys, did you see that? Finally, the learning tree picking up a victory. See? With that win, all people will remember Chris Jericho and the Learning Tree 4 as being the team who ended the New Day. You know, New Day came back thinking they were still the greatest tag team here in WWE, and I said, ain't no way when the Learning Tree's around, baby. Because you see, now, with that victory, I've erased any memories of me in the Royal Rumble being eliminated by the Rizzler." One goes, it was big boom AJ if the Rizzler didn't enter the Royal Rumble, Chris. She goes, "Why are you trying to kill my vibe, huh?" One goes, "Because look around. Last week we tried to step up to the victory. We had to face Candice LeRae and her unhinged ass. And Kaya isn't here right now because she got her ass stomped into the canvas multiple times by Candice. And all you care about is the Rizzler. All you care about is looking good and hip and trying to make people forget you got eliminated by a Costco guy in the Royal Rumble." Jericho went, "How dare you clap back at me, young woman?" She goes, "You know, Chris, I used to think that being a part of the Learning Tree, you know, under the guise of one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, Chris Jericho, would do great things to my career. But all of this was never about us, was it? It was all about protecting you and making you look cool. But Chris, there comes a time in your career you've got to realize it's not 1999 anymore. You're not Y2J. You don't need to be caring about the Rizzler. You still need to be calling yourself Riz Jericho. Because this ain't the Chris Jericho we signed up for." And her and Zeta walk away. And then he turns to Aussie Open like, "Well, we just won, so you guys think I'm still cool, right?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, Chris, we do. Let's go, goat." 79-rated tag match, which is fine based on the finish. Fierce and the Fabulous do win, because it was indeed all a ruse. You know, Shayna goes to put Yoko down, Utami appears, she hits Shayna, and they get disqualified. So Fierce and the Fabulous win by DQ because Utami runs out, attacking Shayna. She then calls Saya and Yoko to attack Carmella. They take out Carmella as Julia and Utami beat up Shayna. Julia delivers one of those stiff knees to the face of Shayna Baszler. And then Utami, she grabs her face mask that she put on because she had a broken nose. And she just puts it on her face and she starts headbutting Shayna Baszler with the mask on. And she busts Shayna's nose up as well. An eye for an eye, a nose for a nose, I guess. And you Queen of Omega stand tall, Shayna down with a busted nose, and Carmella laid out in the corner. Yeah. We then cut back. We see Charlotte Flair talking to Nick Aldis about potential WrestleMania. She goes, "I'm just saying, right now, WrestleMania is going to go by without Charlotte Flair on the card. And I know you don't want one of your top women stars to miss WrestleMania." And then Adam Pearce walks in, and then he's like, "Oh, hold that thought, Charlotte. We'll continue this later." She goes, "Oh my god, really?" And she walks away. And Aldis goes, "Pearce, need to speak to you about something." Goes, "I've been stressed all night, Nick, to be honest. This Candice and Io thing, I didn't want to make the match, but they weren't going to stop their fighting unless, I made the match. And the match is unsanctioned, which means, it's not on WWE and whatever happens to it, but I am still worried about the health of, two of our top women stars. And even worse, Candice, she keeps putting her hands on so many officials. I'm trying to find somebody that will agree to referee this thing, and they all want no part of it." And Nick Aldis goes, "Yeah, that sucks. We can't run an unsanctioned match. The referee needs to be on hand to call pinfalls or submissions or all of that. But if nobody on the roster none of our referees want to referee the match, then there's not really much we can do." And Pierce is like, You know, we'd have to find somebody that Candice would be able to show the restraint to, that she wouldn't put her hands on the official, because all we're doing is at the minute is putting our official's health in danger by trying to get between these two women. And Nicola sort of just pauses. And Pierce's like, what? Because I think I have an idea. I may have a solution. It might be a little bit risky, but I've got a conversation I need to go have with somebody. You know, have a good time overseeing the rest of this chaotic show. And he walks off. Next week, we do only have one match official for next week, which is the go-home show for Roadblock, and that is another Women's Liberty Championship match. The Megasis, who's scooted by Kairi Sane this week, you know, cheating to put her down, faces off against Ember Moon, who called her out following her cheap victory earlier on tonight. Plus, we now have two SmackDown matches official for Roadblock. The first will be for the World Heavyweight Championship. Randy Orton against the almighty Bobby Lashley. You know, Orton made his return at the Royal Rumble after Lashley took him out of action. And yeah, he will get his chance to take Lashley's championship at Roadblock. Plus, it is now official, unsanctioned Io Sky against Candice LeRae. Io, of course, not technically cleared to compete, but will take on Candice LeRae, and if Candice does win, then she will get the spot in the main event of WrestleMania against the Women's World Champion, whether it be Utami Hayashishita or Shayna Baszler. But, you know, Adam Pearce seems to be having struggles finding somebody who wants to officiate such a match. You know, he's throwing referees' health on the line by even suggesting them with the way Candice is going. So, you know, will it even be happening? If we can't find a referee, then I guess it can't happen. 85 rated main event, really? I thought for sure this would be the better match. Whatever. Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan, Swerve Scott, Drew McIntyre. You know, what a lineup. Match goes for 18:37. And it is Sami Zayn who takes the final spot in the Iron Survivor Challenge, pinning Drew McIntyre. But there's more to the story than just him pinning Drew McIntyre. Because Drew, you know, he drops Daniel Bryan with a Claymore. And then he goes to pin Bryan, he gets the 1-2, and Swerve breaks it up. And then Drew McIntyre, like, Swerve gets in Drew's face, they start, like, laughing at each other, then a brawl kicks off between the two men. You know, they take their focus out on each other, and Swerve eventually drops Drew with a Swerve Stomp, and then Sami Zayn comes in, he breaks the pin up. And Sami and Swerve then start going at it, and when Drew comes to life, he claymores Swerve, he takes Swerve out, and then Sami Zayn rolls up Drew McIntyre after he does that, and he pins Drew. But, like, as he pins Drew, like, as soon as the 3 count hits, Drew immediately, like, kicks out and gets his feet. He goes, "Ah, shucks, I lost." So, kind of seems like Drew, you know, he said last week he didn't care if he won. He wanted to make sure Swerve lost. And he did just that. Oh, that's why the match didn't score as good. Because I kept Drew strong, because, like, that's the finish. The game doesn't understand. He decided to get pinned because he didn't want his op winning as a finish. So I was like, keep him strong because, you know, it's part of the story. So yeah, that'll probably be why the match didn't do as well. But the lineup for the Iron Survivor is now complete. Sami Zayn joins Jacob Fatu, Cody Rhodes, Jay White, and Roman Reigns in the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge next Saturday at Roadblock. And all 5 men will be on ECW next week at the request of the Tribal Chief. 95 for Swerve, 77 for Drew, 85 for Sammy, 82 for Brian. Brian's got a gimmick that's getting stale. I'll have to sort that out afterwards. But yeah, Sami Zayn picks up the win. And yeah, that's how we go off the air. But we do, of course, have the trademark post-credit scene. And we just see Nick Aldis backstage. He's knocking on a locker room door. No, he's not, sorry. I changed the segment. We cut to the medical room instead. And Shotzi's in there, getting checked on after her match against Candice, and Candice taking her out. And Dakota walks in, she's checking on Shotzi. She goes, how you holding up? I feel so guilty that I sort of dragged you all into this for no reason. And now you're hurting, and it's because of me. And Shotzi goes, I thought it was alright, but it really seems that you've got to get better control of your friends. Because Candice, she's out of control right now. And I know you can see it. And I don't think you're a bad friend or a bad person. But you can't keep enabling this. And she just walks off. And then we linger on Dakota's face for a couple of seconds when Nick Aldis walks in. He goes, Dakota, just who I want to see. It's like, Nick, how are you doing? What do you want to see me for? He goes, I have a role that I think you'd be perfect for. You see, at Roadblock, it's going to be Io Sky against Candice LeRae. And Candice has been laying out referees left and right. And none of our officials want to referee the match because Candice is insane right now. But given your relationship with Candice, we know that she wouldn't put her hands on you if you were the official. And I trust you to call the match down the middle regardless of your allegiances. So Dakota, we're going to make you the special guest referee for the unsanctioned match at Roadblock. And then Nick Aldis walks out and we just linger on Dakota's face, looking conflicted, confused, all sorts of emotions. But yes, she will be the special guest referee for Io and Candice's unsanctioned match at Roadblock. 84 rate show, whatever, sure, I thought the show was fucking great. SmackDown and Raw, I feel like, I've said this in the comments, ECW at the minute is kind of in a cooling period heading into Roadblock. I do have Mania stuff planned for afterwards that hopefully will be fun. But Raw and SmackDown, I think, are flying right now. It's the road to WrestleMania, baby. But yes, I'll see you on the other side now for Velocity. Velocity kicks off with a low-key banger. Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander reunited, I guess, for tonight, as they team up to face Leon Slater and Saquon Sugars in tag team action. Ali pinning Saquon with the 054 in 15-20. 69 for Saquon, 63 for Leon, 76 for Cedric, and a 90 for Mustafa Ali. And after the match, Ali takes the mic. And he goes, Cedric, would you look at us? Heart and soul back at it on Velocity. It's like we never left. Now, since we chose to go our separate ways, Cedric, you've made me proud. You have reigned as the the Cruiserweight World Champion here on Velocity. But now I'm here on ECW. I keep saying ECW Velocity. It's because they've got ECW banners. Now I'm here on Velocity alongside you, my old friend, my old tag team partner. I believe Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali, a match that made the Cruiserweight Championship what it is. 7 years ago at WrestleMania, you and I, we tore it up for that championship. And we made this division what it is. So here we are all these years later, looking to put this championship back on the map. So what do you say, old friend? Next week, you and I for that. Cedric goes, Ali, I'm so glad to see you here and you stepping up to challenge me for this championship. You know, recently, losers like Johnny Gargano have been coming over to Velocity thinking they're next in line for the Cruiserweight Championship. And I'm going to tell them they ain't. Okay? You are, Mustafa, my old friend. So next week, let's do it. Run it back one last time for the Cruiserweight Championship. Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali. So yeah, Cedric offering an opportunity to Mustafa Ali next week on Velocity. A classic Cruiserweight Championship match of the past renewed here in Big 2025. 64 for the final of this speed tournament. Dudley Davis, with 3 seconds to spare, puts Oney Lorcan down with a Dudley device. 73 for Dudley, 59 for Oney. So that means Dudley is the next in line to get a shot at the Speed Championship currently held by David Martin. 73 for Dudley, 59 for Oney. And speaking of David Martin, Sho Funaki is backstage with him. And he says, David, as Speed Champion, you face all comers. Dudley Davis, next in line. And David Martin goes, as someone who grew up on the UK scene, Dudley Davis, he was an inspiration for a guy like me. He was 19 years old, putting that scene on his back, becoming the first WWE United Kingdom champion at just the age of 19. That was, 8 years ago now? You'd think a 19-year-old stud winning WWE Gold at 19, the sky would be the limit for him. But here he is, still doing the same old stuff 8 years later. Dudley, you've not been champion here, have you? Guess who has? Me. I guess you could say I am the Great Britain. Because you were supposed to be the greatest British export this side of the British Bulldog, Davy Boy Smith, and all you've done is settle for mediocrity and settle for where you are. And if you try and take the Speed Championship from me, it'll be a reality check for you more than anything that this new generation of United Kingdom talent has passed you by, big strong boy. An 8-year-rated main event. Our Trios champions are here, and they defend the championships against 3 guys from NXT Japan. Yosuke Akatsuka, Narihito Matsushita, and Kushida. Santos pinning Naruhito with the Phantom Driver. 67 for Kushida, 75 for Matsushita, 75 for Yosuke, 77 for Jorge, 66 for Santos, and 85 for Rush. Then after the match, Rush goes to ringside. He snatches a microphone from the timekeeper, and he hands it to Santos. Because Santos is the most composed man, I guess. He says, so here we are. LA Extreme. Still Cruiserweight Trios champions. Another thrown together 3 men. Thrown at us. And we put them down. These Cruiserweight Trios championships are supposed to represent brotherhood. Supposed to be for the very best Cruiserweight Trios in the world. But yet, it seems that some of the greatest trios of cruiserweights are docking us because they've got more important things to do than to show up on Velocity. But last week they did. I'm of course referring to the Undisputed Era. Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Roderick Strong. You may have your hands full on ECW, but if you want to prove you're the greatest trio in the Cruiserweight division, it's not the Paragon you've got to worry about. It's LA Extreme. We're here every single week. So when you guys next feel like showing up and gracing Velocity with your godly presence, you omnipotent God, will be here, busting our ass, getting little recognition. Semi-nominated Velocity. Yeah, nice little Velocity. Things taking shape in regards to the championships. We've got a championship match next week. Ardley against Cedric. They're running it back. Dudley next in line for the Speed Championship. And the Trios Champions calling out who they want to be their next challengers in the Undisputed Era. What matters more, though, is what you thought of the show. Do let me know what you thought in the comments below. I'll see you next time for Raw, the go-home show for Roadblock. We're in New Orleans. CM Punk defends against Montez Ford. We've got the Women's Iron Survivor Summit. Daniel Bryan will be there for a big announcement and more. See you then.